slightly mad. I'm going slightly mad.
Hello, Aloysius. Hello, everybody. I have the video this week. What are we going to talk about? Well, that's the thing, Aloysius. We have a whole new series of videos. Really? Yes. Because why is that? Because we needed another character who didn't have to read a book. Yes. Okay, fair enough. Anyway, we have a whole new series of videos for you to start with. After our little sabbatical, we finally worked out what we're going to do. But before we get to that, remember there is our shop, books, writing services, brand new book came out last week. All sorts of good things. In our Redbubble shop, there are over 100 designs. So if you'd like to support us, that is how you support us. Also, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. That's everything, isn't it? Yes, that's everything. Oh, good. Right. So this new plan of yours, this new plan of mine. Right. So I thought that now I don't normally follow trends. No, you're the least trendy person I've ever met. Yeah, I know, I'm really not trendy at all. But one of the things that I noticed that people have been watching a lot is, write a novel with me type videos. Yes. And I figured, well, I've written 4 manuscripts that didn't go anywhere, but complete manuscripts ready for submission that didn't work. But we know why they didn't work. Yes, we know why they didn't work. They were all pre-masters. They were all things that we wrote before we got our master's degree. Yes, that really leveled us up. Yeah, that really did level us up. But I have written, actually it's 5 manuscripts but it was never a completed manuscript because I stopped writing it. I just decided that I don't want to tell this story anymore, which you are entirely valid thing to say. And I just stopped writing it rather than try to force myself. But I have published, yes, 1 novel and 2 books, teaching books. One, a creative writing book, and another, which is literally a teaching book, a book for teachers, the Shaking Up Shakespeare. Yes. So I am, therefore, a professional writer. And I thought that it would be interesting to talk about the whole process as I'm going through it. Not to talk about the actual work itself, because I don't want to do that. I very rarely talk about the work in process because it's just not the way that I work. But I thought it might be interesting, yes, before I've even put pen to paper, to talk about the entire process and use myself as a example to help other writers. Okay, so you're sort of like the guinea pig. Yeah, I'm sort of like the guinea pig about the whole process of writing. Yes, about the whole process of writing. So anyway, that's what I decided that we would do some videos on. So where are you up to at the moment? Where are we up to at the moment? We are in the state that I would like to take a phrase from John Keats. We are in the negative capabilities space. Ooh, sounds mysterious. Yes, it sounds mysterious. But I think it is actually a really vital space to sit in and to acknowledge as a writer. Because the negative capabilities space is, I think, a space that inexperienced writers want to rush through far too quickly. Why do you say that? Because I did. I know when I was less experienced, it's like, oh, I have an idea, I must start writing this down. what I have learnt over the years as a writer is that a good idea will not disappear. You do not need to treat your ideas with a level of scarcity. Scarcity will not help you. In fact, if you treat your ideas with a level of scarcity, what will happen is that you will limit the possibilities of it, and that initial idea and your initial framing of it may not be the best possible, but once you have gone to the bother of writing an entire draft in that framing, you might not be willing to scrap that and start again. So sometimes taking the time to really allow things to come up is quite helpful. Is this why you haven't been writing? Yeah, well, it's partly why I haven't been writing. I took half a year off after I finished the Shakespeare book, yes, because I'd spent 2 years pretty much working on that and it was exhausting. And then this year I've got all tied up with working, yes. Now, weren't you going to do something different? I was going to do something different this year. I was going to take 6 months off and then start with the next book after the Shakespeare. So like the Shakespeare book, lesson plans and all tied into the curricula. But that I don't think, that I have put on the back burner because I'm doing so much teaching in a completely different KLA area, that attempting to do that would just be, it would cause, just cognitive overload. You get a logjam in your head. Yeah, I get a logjam in my head, and I really don't want to do that. That would be, and I'm doing teaching a lot more than I usually am when I'm writing. So I didn't want to be writing in that way. Also, that wouldn't be a really fun book to talk about with you because it's very by the book. Like now that I've done one book, it's like, oh, I know the process for this. And it's also very trained writing. I'm writing something that is not creative in the same way. It's just, oh, okay, I know how to write this. Because it's like journalism. That makes sense? Yes. Yeah. It's more like writing journalism where it's very, because I've written one, I know exactly what I'd do for the next one. It'll run a lot faster, but I'm not in a position to do that. Right. But this one is a novel, and I haven't written any of it yet, and I would like to get started on it. I have had a very busy 6 months, 7 months, but I would like to get started on it because I have not worked on anything of my own for a significant amount of time now. No, you've been very much not writing. No, I've been a non-writing writer. So, but I haven't been doing nothing because the book that I want to write has been sitting in my head since, well, longer than I would actually have even been considering writing it. I started considering, okay, my 6 months is up. I'll start working on it at the beginning of the year. But the idea had actually come to me a long time earlier. When you watch that bad film. Yeah, when I watched that bad film. I had an idea a lot earlier. And I did at the beginning of the year start buying some things that I felt would probably help with that idea. I haven't actually read them. No, we haven't read them. But because we haven't had time. No, because we have not had time. But I still was sort of looking around. Here is my idea. Here is sort of how I want to frame this. I want to see if I can find some resources that will help me with that particular framing. So that's one level. That's the negative capability working, because I don't feel that I have any. I got my inspiration. What do you mean you've got your inspiration? Well, I got my inspiration when I got the idea. The rest of it is mostly writing it out. but I thought inspiration was really, really important. Yeah, of course inspiration is really, really important. It's that, oh, I could write a story about this. That sounds really nice. It's that thing that sparks your interest. You will get more inspiration as you go along, but it will be small. Like what? Like, well, I got my big inspiration, so I then started thinking, well, what do I need to support this story for me to be able to tell it? And then I started to think, well, I have to put that on the back burner because I don't have time for that at the moment. And then I started watching David Lynch. Yes. And that made me start to think, because I write literary fiction. I don't write genre fiction, which means that I have more freedom to play with style than a genre fiction writer does. But what it does mean is that you have to have some level of a more, what is this about, than just the narrative. There really needs to be something a lot more overarching and a lot more of a super narrative or something more to underpin it. It has to do more than genre fiction. Is that why you've been procrastinating? No, I haven't been procrastinating. And that is something that I think is very easy for people to get a little bit worried about. Is negative capability procrastinating? No. Why is that? Procrastination is a form of anxiety. And when you procrastinate, you put off and put off and put off because you are anxious about how the task at hand is going to go. Negative capability is not procrastination, and it is not a state of anxiety. It is, as Keats said, a sort of a yearning towards, or an openness towards inspiration. I have seen negative capability, or this period, as described as walking through the long grass with lots of burrs in it, and the burrs will stick to you, and you don't know which ones will. You can't choose which burrs will stick to you and which won't. So it's very much, it's not an anxiety. It is an openness and a relaxedness and oh, that could be really interesting. And you're not necessarily seeking out things. It is very distinct from the research phase. The research phase comes after this. The negative capability phase is, I've been watching a lot of David Lynch. He has really interesting ways of telling stories. I wonder if there is anything in that I can use. Does that make sense? Does that mean you're going to write a David Lynch? No, it definitely does not mean I'm going to write a David Lynch. It definitely does not mean I'm going to be imitating another writer, but I'm certainly going to be looking at other writers as ways of, not even deliberately. I'm not looking at Lynch films or any of the other things that have sparked something off with an idea of, oh, if I watch this, I might get ideas for my book. No, it's just I'm watching this and then I think, oh, I like that. I like that idea. Like when you looked at the British Cryptids videos. Yes, like when I looked at the British Cryptids videos. If you haven't seen them, check them out. They're weird as weird. But the British Cryptids videos on YouTube here. Yes, I looked at those and I thought, oh, that's something I could use. Does that mean your story has cryptids? No, it doesn't mean my story has cryptids. But that's what, you don't get big lots of inspiration. That is one of the big things that inexperienced writers sort of expect is I can only write when I'm inspired. It's like there's a lot of drudgery in writing, a lot of just bum in seat and typing out words and making it work and going back and saying, it didn't really work the way I thought it would work. There is a lot of that in writing. You can't do that in an inspired way. This is why you need to have craft. Craft gets you. It really is a case of 99% of this is craft, 1% is inspiration. Inspiration is the thing that's like, oh, that's interesting. But then you have to spend all that time turning it into something, bringing it into existence, manifesting it. But it is important to use the negative capability time, because had I rushed in, yes, fools rush in. Had I rushed in straight away, I would have created one story. And now, having been given time, partly through the fact that I didn't have time to work on it, and partly through because I didn't really feel that I had anything yet solid and concrete to work with, now I have a very different sort of story that I am looking at, a different style of story. I hadn't really read a lot of Alistair Gray. I mean, he's weird. Yes, he's weird. He is weird. But he has some ideas that I quite enjoy. Like what? Like, I'm not telling you. Really, I told you. But the more writers and different people that I look at, the more it's like, oh, that's something interesting. I will probably not use a lot of these. That's the other thing, is that willingness to just, that's interesting. I wonder if that will work in this manuscript, or if this is a technique that I will use in something else. Sounds wasteful. There is no such thing as wasteful. It is not, do not come at writing with a scarcity mindset. Ideas do not disappear. If it's a good idea, it'll stick around. Okay, that is something I've learnt. They will keep coming back. It will if it wants to be written, it will keep coming back and bugging you. You cannot waste anything. Nothing's going to get wasted. It all filters down and gets used somewhere, even if it doesn't come up in a very, very obvious way, which is exactly what you want. You want to have time to digest these ideas. You do not want to rush in and here is a great idea. And I think as a publisher, as somebody who reads manuscripts, I can tell you that a great story can be marred by poor execution of an idea that hadn't been left to marinate long enough. It sounds like cooking. Yeah, it sounds like cooking. It sounds like gardening. It's all a bit, we use a lot of metaphors. It's just how it works. You think writers aren't going to use metaphors? Seriously. But yes, the negative capability is not the same as procrastination. Procrastination is anxiety and fear and scarcity. Negative capability is openness, curiosity, and abundance. Now, that is and can be a very difficult mindset for people to work with, especially if they're used to scarcity. So if you are at this stage thinking, I'd like to write a story, I don't know what I want to write about, I would suggest, before you even think about writing, is think about, am I thinking in scarcity and fear, or am I thinking in abundance and plenty? Because if you are thinking in abundance, then you are not going to be freaked out by the process. If you're thinking in scarcity, you could have $1 million idea and spoil it in the execution because you were clinging on and too frightened to be open to change or development in a way that is positive for your idea. Do not... The saying, kill your darlings, is, I think, in some ways can be a little bit misapplied. It's like, you know, cross out all the bits that you like or whatever, the bits you're overly attached to. I think that it's also, don't become overly attached in the initial stage to a particular execution. Be open to change. Don't fear that change. So hopefully, well, it won't just be hopefully. Next time we come along, we should be entering the research phase. Assuming we can actually manage to get ourselves up and moving. Or if but I think I wouldn't have decided to start these videos if I didn't feel, yeah, I think we're actually getting close to the point where I want to start writing this thing. So I hope you will join us for our next installment in novel writing. I'm not sure how frequent these are going to occur because it does track alongside my writing, and you're very slow. I am an incredibly slow writer at times, and so I don't exactly know how quickly these will track, but that is what we are going to be talking about, is taking you, our viewers, on a trip with me as I write my next novel. And hopefully you will, by the end of the process, you'll be able to buy my next novel if you're continuing on. And I do hope that this brings you real help with your own writing, that it helps you in terms of feeling relaxed and on the right track. I can only ever speak about my own experience and my method of writing, but I think that it is worth talking about because it can help other people and their understanding of their own methods. So until then, bye-bye. Der Finger, ich bin ja, ich Bye-bye! If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.